This story has caught the internet by storm. The girl's very pretty. Apparently, the 16-year-old stepson was obsessed with her. I think personally, he was probably. I hope they don't shut this off because it's core TV though. Do you think they'll let me watch this, or do you think I'm gonna get content ID'd and they're gonna shut me off? Well, I might be okay because I'm in this corner. Let's see. All right, if the stream gets shut off, let me know and we'll go watch something else. But we'll give this a shot. All right, we'll give this a shot.
I'm Vinny Politan. The subject of my investigation, the death of Anna Kepner, an 18-year-old killed while on board
Yeah, we
a
will find
cruise
out.
ship with her blended family. Here's the story.
Yeah, so VR girl, what the one thing about like live streaming is you can you can watch like old TV shows and stuff as long as like they're not like they weren't on a network. So you could sometimes you can get away with watching news stuff, especially if you put a lot of like if you stop a lot and put in a lot of I just had a total brain fart. If you put in a lot of like commentary and stuff, sometimes they'll let you get away with it. But I also think that but we've had streams shut down before because it's like we'll watch like an ID discovery show that's on YouTube. Like everything we watch here is on YouTube, and we make it fair use. But sometimes just if it gets content ID, they'll just boop shut the stream straight off. Now they'll bring it back on once I stop playing the content. It's kind of like a little warning, like be like, hey buddy, the person that made this isn't liking it. I think since it's core TV, though, they might let me get away with it because this is technically news, and you can watch news channel stuff. So we'll see what happens here. But we will try to do our best to avoid getting shut off, but no promises. No promises, okay?
Anna Kepner, an 18-year-old high school senior from Titusville, Florida, slipped away on what was supposed to be a joyful family cruise aboard the Carnival Horizon. Full of life, dreams of joining the U.S. Navy, and a future she'd worked so hard for, Anna seemed unstoppable. But on November 7th, tragedy struck. Her body discovered concealed under her bed, wrapped in a blanket and covered with life vests.
Now, I have a question. Do you think that the reason that this story is so popular is because of the fact that she's a pretty girl? Or do you think it's because, one, I think that it's because it's a blended family too, but I think it's because she looks like an influencer. It's a mixed family. Like it's got all the makings of a viral sensation. But I personally think it's because of her looks is why this why this story's gone so viral, But I mean, it would have been covered at some point, even if she wasn't like, a cheerleader, popular girl looking thing because of just the things at play here. But also her death was probably caused due to the fact that she looks the way she does because apparently the 16-year-old stepbrother was infatuated with her. In my opinion, I think he watched too much Hub. If you guys, anybody who's ever watched a Hub knows what I'm talking about, the stepbrother, stepsister fetish that's out there, which I personally don't get. I've never had a stepbrother or a stepsister, but had I had one, I don't think that I could ever look at them that way, I also have a theory. And I'm going to say it right now so I'm on record, okay? Nothing has come out. No arrests have even been made yet. I heard EG watches a lot of videos about No, I do not. Exactly. So this is my theory, okay, guys? Now, this guy hasn't even been arrested yet. But I think this is what happened. Because if I try to put myself in the place of someone who would want to kill someone they're obsessed with, and from knowing what I know about true crime shows like this, I think what happened is They book this cruise. This guy's been super obsessed with this girl for however, I guess, long that their parents were dating or whatever, or married. So they were blended family, husband and wife. This 16-year-old thought maybe this cruise was going to be the opportunity for him and Abby to have like, a room. They're going to share a room together. This is going to be perfect for him. He's going to get an opportunity to make a move on him. They can have a nice romantic getaway. And this is when he can show Abby just how great of a guy he is and win her heart over, which, first off, gross. That's your stepsister. Ew. It's like if Greg Brady murdered Marcia or I guess it would be like Peter murdered Marcia because Marcia didn't want to date him or something like that. But I think what happened is they go on this cruise. This 16-year-old kid has this made up in his head that he's going to have like this incredible romantic getaway with his stepsister, and he's going to get to share a room with her. Maybe she'll, entertain his advances, which I don't think she was ever interested in because, one, she had a boyfriend. Well, she just had broken up with her boyfriend, from what I understand. They had just broken up. So this was his chance, right, to go on this cruise and to woo over his stepsister, Abby, and I guess try to seal the deal or whatever on this cruise ship. And you know that 16-year-olds are very, like, let's just say, high hormonal. They get on the cruise ship. Maybe Abby's, kind of entertaining him a little bit. She's like, oh, he's my brother. He's he's a little cutie, whatever. Abby ends up meeting some other guy on this cruise ship that's kind of like a Chad. Like, Abby's probably very attracted to this other guy that she's met on this cruise ship. Now, Abby meeting this other guy on this cruise ship absolutely sends the 16-year-old into an absolute frenzy because now Abby's paying attention to some other guy when she should be paying attention to him because, after all, Abby's his sister, and, if he can't have her, nobody can, and I think that's what leads to him killing her. That is what I think happened. That's the only thing I can think of, because a lot of people have said that they think that Abby just simply rejected his advances, and then he killed her for rejecting his advances. But I don't think it's that simple. I think that if this guy, like, really cared about Abby the way he did, he would just keep going and going and going. I know nothing about this story. I think EG is definitely in the right direction. I think that's got to be it, right? Because what's one thing that will drive people to do something like this? Jealousy. Nothing fires someone up who's in love with someone like jealousy or thinking about someone they care about with someone else, right? Yeah, 16-year-old boys are very fragile. You're right. But I don't think that, like, if she rejected his advances, that would be enough for him to kill her. But that's what I think happened. Now, whether or not we ever find out about the other guy, I don't know. But I do think that when push comes to shove, that's what jealousy is going to play a role in this story in some way. Now, I'm saying that before we start this video because you're going to hear probably a bunch of different speculation about him. But that's my theory. Nobody's come up with it yet. I think I'm the only person who's put this out here on the internet. So if it turns out that I'm right, y'all were here, y'all heard it. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But I think jealousy 100% played a role in this. All right, let's find out. For all of you who are not familiar with the story, though, let's get into it. This video just came out 2 hours ago by Court TV, so maybe they got some. It looks like they got all the interviews with everybody. You'll know everything about the story by the time we're done.
FBI has launched a full investigation scouring the ship's surveillance videos, swipe card logs, and interviewing family members, including her own 16-year-old stepbrother, who was under suspicion.
Obviously, it's got to be this guy right here, right? I don't know. I guess because he's a minor, you can't see him in anything. But that's got to be the stepbrother right here, if I had to guess.
According to his own mother. As the family and community grieves, Anna's story has become a haunting riddle. What happened in that cabin?
Right? That's fine. Well, I think we know what happened in the cabin, right? He put her. We already know how she died. he put her in like a chokehold, a rear naked choke, because the ligature marks. They realized she was strangled. There's ligature marks on her throat that correspond with an arm bar or like a rear naked choke that would cut off the circulation. But the thing is, you could choke someone out and then let them go, but it seemed like he choked her out and just kept her holding her, like he wanted her dead, which makes this even more gruesome. Now, here's the thing too: there's cameras all throughout these cruise ships. If he did it, they will know without a shadow of a doubt that he did it, because the only people coming in and out of that room will be the family. If there's a random guy that comes in and out of that room, then we have a whole new player in the game.
Now, before you can really understand what may have happened in that cabin, I think it's important to understand some of what was going on in Anna Kepner's life. And as I mentioned, she's part of this blended family. She had a boyfriend, and I guess it's sort of common among young people these days because of the technology. If you have a boyfriend, you're in high school, or a girlfriend, you're in high school, you can talk to each other on FaceTime. And apparently one night, there was a FaceTime call between Anna Kepner and her boyfriend Joshua. And Anna may have fallen asleep in her bed, but the FaceTime was still on, so he could see what was going on. Josh could see what was happening in Anna's room. And in that moment, Josh sees something that is extremely alarming. He was asked about it when he was outside the celebration of life for Anna. A bunch of folks from the media got around and interviewed him, and he talked about what he saw, what he witnessed. And it involves Anna and her 16-year-old stepbrother. Let's take a listen to that interview.
From what you know, what do you think happened in there?
I think that he walked in there and basically he walked in there and tried to get on top of her and tried to do sexual thing with her, but he got caught by me in the process of it.
Okay, so the boyfriend of Anna Kepner just said that when that video was still rolling, that the brother, with Anna falling asleep on the tablet with him, the 16-year-old brother got in there, tried to do something, climbed on top of Anna and tried to do something sexual with her while she was passed out. But him being on FaceTime with her probably was like, what the hell are you doing, you little freak, And he probably jumped off and ran away. So that's essentially what he's saying. The audio quality is terrible right here.
Yeah, and she got scared of it and went to go sleep over her friends.
She got scared of it. And she got scared of it and went to go sleep over at her friend's house whenever she could at mine, but she didn't feel comfortable sleeping at her house. So that means the brother was probably very aggressive.
But she never could because her stepmom was very controlling of it, and I got that.
Now, my problem here is this is a boyfriend who she had just broken up with right before going on the Carnival cruise line. I don't know how credible of a witness he can be, because obviously he probably didn't like the brother in the first place. Makes my theory, yeah. I think that, well, first off, Anna's very attractive. I could see multiple men fighting over her. But she did break up with this guy before they went on the cruise. So maybe, it seems like there's a lot of different working wheels here.
I was like, her stepbrother was trying to go on top of her in the middle of the night, and they didn't believe it. So.
She just could have been traumatic.
What type of person was she?
She was a great woman, I met her at school.
And the circumstances behind her death, you find them to be suspicious? And if so, tell me why.
It was suspicious because I knew that the brother did it, and yeah.
How do you know that?
Because of the past things that happened with him, like I was saying.
Which way wrong?
About the FaceTime and stuff.
What's the FaceTime?
Whenever I was on FaceTime with her, and when I was on FaceTime with her, and she was laying down, and the brother tried to go on top of her, and yeah.
You saw that?
Yeah. And then
how did she react to that?
I was like, "What the hell are you doing in the room?" Then he got scared and ran away, and I heard his footsteps running through the house, because he got caught.
So when you learned of her passing, what was your reaction?
I ran away. He ran away. It was
Just because they broke up means nothing. He likely still cared about her a great deal. Just yeah, no, he's the I'm don't get me confused. Zero, you're right. This guy on video right now, I don't think it was his idea to break up with Anna. I think it was Anna's idea to break up with him. Because listen to what he says here, if he says it in his interview.
kind of crazy.
And when you learned that she passed away, how did you feel?
I felt very sad, you know, because that was my first love. She was the best that ever happened to me.
Right there. First off, I don't know about y'all, but does this guy seem like he's sad? I don't know. He doesn't seem like he's very sad to me, you know? If this was his first love and he was truly devastated, I feel like he would cry at some point during this. If anybody's ever lost someone who they really truly cared about, they will get upset. I think this guy wanted to be on camera. So, you know, take for that what you will, but he don't seem upset to me. If the love of my life went on a cruise ship and had just died, I'd be first off, I don't know if I'd even want to go. What's up, Clifford? I don't think I'd even want to go on the news, let alone you know, go in there and talk about the time that her brother climbed on top of her and it was weird and have such a stone cold face. He could be in shock, you know. He could be in shock. And, you know, he probably liked her, but she was the best thing that ever happened to me. That doesn't sound, I don't know. To me, his reaction doesn't tell me that. But that's just my opinion.
And I'd even walk her to work to see her, you know, for like 5-10 minutes.
Did you talk with her before her death?
Like 3 weeks before it, yes ma'am. I was actually supposed to go on the cruise that she went on, but we broke up.
He was supposed to go on the cruise that she went on, but they broke up.
When did you split?
We split up like 6 months ago. 6 months.
We broke up 6 months ago.
And everyone said she's just a bright light. So many.
That doesn't sound like to me they were still working things out, you know? It doesn't lucky man, Jesus. That doesn't sound like to me this guy was trying to work things out with her. 6 months is a long time for a relationship to go without rekindling things. So she would have lived if he had gone on the cruise with her. Yeah, probably. Yeah, he would have been there to stop it. But he could have killed her later though, too. He could have just waited and killed her later. But that's why I still think that my original guess is right. And that Anna met a guy on the cruise that she was flirting with. And that guy and her brother could not take seeing her flirt with this new guy that came into the picture. People go on cruises all the time. I know a bunch of stories of girls that met guys on cruises. In fact, a couple that are still together met on a cruise ship before. It could have been him in the wall. Yeah, it could have been him in the. He could have got killed too. You know, if this it sounds like this brother is like psychotic.
People were in bright colors today. How would you describe the kind of person she was?
She was a great person. She definitely knew how to throw on her outfit.
She definitely knew how to throw on her outfit.
She was great, you know. She knew how to put on colors. It wasn't like a basic outfit.
And this is your mom?
Yes,
She's
ma'am.
okay with you talking to us? Yeah, but we need to go. Okay, I just wanted...
Okay.
What should happen
Yeah, but we need to go.
next?
Thank you.
What do you think should happen?
I think that he should get thrown in jail for as long as possible. And yeah.
And when did you move into the house?
I have no idea.
Like a year?
Now I know this kid's not media trained, but again, I don't know. It just seems. It doesn't seem like he really cared. You know what I mean? Like I'm not getting my heart died with Anna from this guy.
Maybe like a year ago. I think so. I don't.
We'd like to see justice for
Yeah, I'd
your
like
first
to see a
love.
lot of justice. Yes,
Has she ever complained about his behavior before?
yes, ma'am. Yes, sir.
What did she complain about?
She complained about him being uncomfortable, or her being uncomfortable around him, because of the fact that he tried to go on top of her in the bed, and because of that,
Yeah, well that's good. She knows how to put clothes on. Yeah, that's a start. I mean, that is a good thing, right? She know how to throw on that. Boy, I'll tell you what, she knew how to throw on that dress, boy. I'll tell you, got me going fired up.
she tried to go and stay the night at her friend's house, and to dodge the staying night at her house.
She
It
ever,
happened more than once.
Yes.
did she ever bring that up with
How
her?
many times did that happen?
It happened one time, around like 3 a.m. that night.
That time when you were on the FaceTime call with
Yes, sir.
a friend. Yes.
Did she ever?
Yeah, the she was a good person, knew how to put on an outfit. What I know. I'm sorry. If the girl that I loved was murdered by her brother, I would be devastated, and I would think of a lot. Now, granted, I feel like I'd probably be a little more articulate because this is a young guy, but I feel like I would have so much more to say than, boy, she knew how to throw on a dress. I'll tell you that much.
Report that to her father.
No, I have not. I reported it to the FBI.
This is a major,
Yeah, he sounds
major
cold.
development in all of this and trying to understand what's going on in Anna Kepner's world, being a part of this blended family. And that brings us to the first question in our investigation tonight. How alarming is this behavior? It's her stepbrother, not half-brother, stepbrother. Blended family coming together, and her 16-year-old stepbrother, 3 a.m., allegedly jumping into her bed. She's feeling uncomfortable. Here to help answer this question, psychiatrist, forensic specialist, medical health expert, Dr. Yalda Safai, and criminologist and investigative profiler, Dr. Casey Jordan. She's also the host of the Criminal Appeal podcast. Great to have you both here. All right.
That dude is wearing earring and a flannel. He's in a trucker hat. He's not spitting Shakespeare. I know, man, but come on. She was a nice girl, and she knew how to put on a dress. Like, that's it. The love of your life dies, and that's all you got to say about it. I don't know. It's just like, damn.
All right, Dr. Safai, I'll begin.
It reminds me of like this show from Parade where like they're talking about the girl dying, and like one of the girls, like the guy really loves this girl, and she's murdered. That's kind of the whole premise of the musical. And the news reporters run around him too and get around him with a microphone, and they're like, "What did you know about her?" And he was like, "Did you ever hear her laugh? When she laughed, you swore you'd never cry again." You know what I mean? Like, that's the kind of shit I'm looking for when someone's talking about the love of your life. There, not she knew how to wear dresses. She was good at that, you know?
Begin with you from your perspective. How alarming is this behavior that was just described by Anna's
What's up,
former
Kim?
boyfriend?
It's both an alarming and isn't. First, it's alarming because they're family and they're not supposed to act that way around each other. And if this was a
Yes,
non-consensual
that's
type
fair.
thing, obviously this is very alarming. At the same time, is having a sexual relationship with your stepbrother, who's not your blood relative, who you likely didn't grow up with, unethical? I don't know. The lines are a little bit blurred here. I think the most important thing here is whether this was a consensual thing, if they had a prior relationship or not. Because if it was
That's a good point. That's a good point. Because maybe Anna did fuck around with him, you know, or would like to have fun with him, you know, maybe lead him on a little bit or something. And that's what drove the 16-year-old nuts, right? It wasn't just simply, "Ooh, no, you're my brother, get away from me." It was more like there was a kiss that took place once, or maybe he was allowed, maybe he climbed on top of her because he's been there before with her and they have done something sexual before. You know, that is something that we can't ignore, regardless of, you know, it's easy to sit here and say the 16-year-old's a monster, right? But clearly this guy believed that something was going on between those two. He doesn't just, I can't imagine him just killing her for rejecting him. You know what I mean? And that's where I really just feel like in my gut, my idea is right about her and him, like maybe hooking up at one point, and her being like, "Nah, I can't do that again. That was weird." And then him falling totally head over heels in love with her, and then her talking to another guy. That could set someone off to want to kill someone, though.
it was non-consensual, if this person was giving their stepsister unwanted advances, obviously this is very concerning. But I think, you know, just having a purely sexual relationship with your stepbrother when you're young, you know, hormones are running wild, it could happen, right? And technically it's not incest, it's not illegal because you're not blood relatives. But I think the most important thing here is whether this was something consensual or not.
Yeah. I believe at 3 a.m., I believe she was sleeping at the time. I believe that's part of it. Josh did describe it that Anna had a response that she was not comfortable and she was.
Yeah, well, maybe she knew that he was on the tablet. Maybe he knew, and he didn't want her seeing, right? It's not out of the realm of possibility. That's all I'm saying.
Sleeping at other people's homes to try to avoid all of this. Dr. Casey.
According to him, according to the Shakespearean wordsmith himself, that she was trying to avoid, which she could have been saying to him just so that he didn't know what was actually going on,
Jordan, from your perspective, how alarming is this behavior?
I would say it's as alarming as a 3-alarm fire. I mean, this is incredibly alarming to me. I don't even want to entertain the idea that it was potentially consensual relationship because, as her boyfriend pointed out, she was asleep. You can't consent when you are asleep. And she had told her boyfriend, I mean, his testimony is pure gold, if you ask me, because he was on FaceTime and witnessed it. It's not just secondhand information. He saw the stepbrother on FaceTime screen on top of his girlfriend and yelled at him through the phone, and the stepbrother ran away. He could hear the footsteps going through the house. So the fact that she was divorced.
Yeah, but that could have also been because he didn't want to get beat up by this guy or something, So, and she would have been, if that was he said that was a year ago that happened, she would have been 17, he would have been 15. There's been 15 and 17-year-olds hook up all the time. I'm not saying I'm not saying that's what happened. I'm just saying it's not out of the realm of possibility. Again, this is just speculation on my part. I'm just trying to see what would urge this guy to want to kill,
Bulging to other people, her boyfriend in particular, that she was uncomfortable around her stepbrother and avoiding him by trying to have sleepovers at somebody else's house. That, to me, is just a huge red flag. He was coming on to her. His attraction for her was sexual in nature. And even though there didn't appear to be any sexual activity involved in her death, it doesn't mean that there wasn't a sexual motivation in whoever killed her. And if it's the stepbrother, it seems to be part of a pattern. Very possible that she started screaming, kicking, resisting, and that arm went over her throat to keep her quiet. Maybe the intent wasn't to kill her, but now she's dead and he's the #1 suspect.
See, that's another reason why I think that they might have had physical interactions before. If he was so desperate to touch her and to, get his hands on her, sexual assault would definitely be a possibility that we could see play out here. But if he's already been there and experienced that and just was loving her instead, that's a crime of passion. That's, maybe that's why he didn't feel like he needed to put his, willy into her, for lack of a better analogy, because it's very sad what happened to her. But this is, we're talking about real life here. Shit like this happens, all right? It does.
Dr. Safai, I want to play for you something from the attorney for the stepmom, for the 16-year-old's mother, talking about what happened to the 16-year-old after they left the ship.
Mom, immediately after the incident, he was hospitalized, and then when released from the hospital, Mom and Dad participated too. They signed a stipulation basically allowing him to live with Mom's relative, and they're getting counseling and so forth for him.
Dr. Safai, what are your thoughts about what?
So that was a live take from a custody court hearing between this guy here, who is the father of the 16-year-old, and the mom, who's the mom of the 16-year-old. She's obviously not married to this guy anymore. She's married to the guy that was the father of Anna, who I think's father failed him. But again, maybe these two got along fine, because I've heard from the grandparents and other people that those two got along fine. So maybe Anna was telling the boyfriend what he thought he needed to hear, which is why I don't necessarily agree with everything that the boyfriend has said, because I've heard contradicting reports from people in the family. All News Online people are like the Inquirer. I watched one People on Law and Crime pushing a professional to try and make an accusation. Yeah, because they want them clicks, right? Because they can put it as a headline. Totally get that, Isha.
What they would have learned, or what the discussion would be like after whatever happened on the ship happened, and he's going to the hospital and being evaluated.
I mean, we don't really know why he was hospitalized, right? It could be a wide variety of reasons. I think from my understanding of the case, it was more of a psychological type of hospitalization, but that could be because of a wide variety of reasons. He could have just been, traumatized from the death of the sister. So I try not to jump to conclusions and say, oh, he was feeling so guilty, that's why he was hospitalized, and, things like that. So we just don't know right now exactly why he was hospitalized and what happened and the conditions of that. So I try not to jump to conclusions. But once we get a little bit more clarity why he had to be hospitalized, I think we can draw better conclusions here.
Absolutely. Dr. Casey Jordan, your thoughts about the removal from the house. So, no one's been arrested, no one's been charged with anything. The 16-year-old in this custody hearing, there's a discussion, and he's removed from the house, and they're saying for the protection of the other minors that are still living in that household. Does that cause alarm?
Yeah, that is that's pretty big, right? If this guy, if they're bringing that up in a child custody hearing and a lawyer's the person saying that, they typically back that up with proof. I'm definitely
look at that. Someone's guilty of being a total badass.
Let's go.
This message.
At the Daniels Cruise Super Chatted $10, way behind but made it.
Yes, you did. Thank you so much. That's so cool. Way to come in. I thought that was going to be a horn that came on, but I guess it didn't work. Daniel's crew, good to see you. I know we're late, but right now we're talking about the cruise ship murder that took place on the Carnival cruise line.
Yeah, well, it underlines the fact that he is their number one and perhaps only suspect in the death of his stepsister. And we know that room that he was sharing, there were 3 siblings.
Yeah, that's how you super chat right here. Get your words out, no emotes. That's why Daniel's Cruise is the best to do it, baby. So EG, what's going on with your eyes? You said earlier you're trying to avoid squishing them. Oh, I got LASIK done on Thursday of last week, so I'm just trying to. You can't squeeze your eyes or put too much pressure on your eyes because you can mess up the work they did. Not at least till Thursday, first week, but I'm just trying to be safe here. So, and they had me cracking up laughing earlier. So if I crack up laughing, I can't help but squeeze my eyes together. So.
And step-siblings in that cabin on the Carnival Cruise Line, including our victim.
Well, if you could spoil this for me, Daniel's crew, I'd actually want you to, because then you would be the first person to know actually what happened on this ship.
18 years old, her stepbrother, 16 years old, the number one suspect, and a younger sibling. And I don't know the details of how old that sibling is or what their gender is. But clearly, if you think that you have a teenager in your house who's capable of homicide of his stepsister, another family member within that house, somebody who has homicidal tendencies, perhaps, even if it isn't proved that he's responsible for her death, you must protect the other children in the house. And
By the way, the grandparents were on the ship with them when this all happened. I wasn't sure if you picked that up or not, Daddy Scambate.
Be very curious to know what is the nature of the custody dispute between the suspect's parents. That said, let's remember he is innocent until proven guilty. They're going to be looking at every single angle. They're going to be looking at cameras. They're going to be looking at key card swipes. Did the cabin have a balcony that somebody could have, an intruder could have come in through the balcony? They're not going to rule out anything else. But right now, given that she was found in the room that she shared with her stepbrother, stuffed under the bed, wrapped in a blanket, covered with life jackets, they're going to be looking at the person she shared the cabin with.
Yeah, and not only that, but the person, whoever killed her, made a conscious effort to shove her under the bed and hide her behind life jackets and shit. They obviously were trying to hide the crime that they committed.
And if he's clearly mentally or emotionally disturbed, it's good that he went to the hospital, and we're hoping he gets the care he needs. But we still need answers as to exactly what happened.
Dr. Casey Jordan, Dr. Yalusafai, great to have you both with us tonight. Thank you so much. Coming up next, what does the timeline reveal?
What does the timeline reveal? Let's find out. Oh wait, I think it goes right back into it.
The older child, who is approximately 16 years of age, is a suspect in the death of the stepchild, an 18-year-old daughter that was in the same room.
Wow, and did you notice when he said that, the mom didn't even the mom knows. I think most of us can agree that the 16-year-old is 90% sure he killed Anna, right? if he's convicted, it'll be second degree. I mean, it could be, yeah, because if he didn't plan it, like they'd have to prove that he planned it and it wasn't like a crime of passion. I have watched cruise ships missing. Yeah, well, this isn't a cruise ship. This was a girl that was murdered on a cruise ship. But it's interesting you say that, Daniel's Crew, because I did listen to a documentary done by 60 Minutes Australia today that was about just how shady cruise ships can be with this type of stuff.
You have to punish him? You have to kill him for a few $100?
You don't touch fire.
What is this? What's this? Okay.
Investigation ongoing that the mother took the 2 younger children on a cruise.
Yeah, E-Shift, that's a good question. A lot of people have been asking right now, why did they let the boy and the girl share a room together? And again, that's why I don't think that everything is as clear-cut as everybody's trying to say it is. Because again, I listened to the interview with the grandparents. The grandparents said that those kids got along fine. It was only the boyfriend who said they didn't, and she was concerned about him.
And that the older child, who's approximately 16 years of age, is a suspect in the death of the stepchild, an 18-year-old daughter that was in the same room.
So a lot of information coming from different places, right? You've got Anna's former boyfriend who's speaking out. You've got this custody battle that the stepmother is involved with her ex, which involves the children, her 16-year-old son. So we're learning a lot from that. We're also learning from sources and other reporting out there like the Daily Mail. And we're able to put together a bit of a timeline here. Let's take a look at it. November 6th, during dinner, Anna tells her family she's feeling ill and goes back to her cabin. Anna's 14-year-old brother and 16-year-old stepbrother, who were also staying in the same cabin, returned to the room a little bit later on. Anna's 14-year-old brother changes his clothes, leaves the cabin to take pictures of the cruise ship. So that would leave the 16-year-old and Anna together in that cabin.
And if Anna's not feeling well, maybe this is where the 16-year-old feels like that's his moment to try to make a move. Maybe they got along too fine or sideways arranged marriage. Yeah, I don't know, man. I think that... all I'm saying is I wouldn't be shocked if the 16-year-old says that him and Anna have done something before. That's all I'm going to say. I wouldn't be shocked if it doesn't happen, but I wouldn't be shocked if it did. It could go either way.
The 14-year-old returns and notices that Anna isn't in bed. He presumes that she's staying up late with the grown-ups. We move on to the next day, November 7th. 14-year-old and 16-year-old boys head to breakfast with the rest of the family. Anna doesn't join them for breakfast. The family realizes she is missing.
That 14-year-old boy slept in that room, and that 16-year-old boy slept in that room knowing that Anna was under the bed. The 14-year-old had no clue. That's got to mess him up completely, not knowing that he was probably sleeping above Anna's dead body.
Anna's father, Christopher Kepner, begins searching the Horizon, which is the name of the ship that they're on. A medical emergency is then announced over the PA system, and Christopher goes to Anna's cabin where the cleaning crew had just discovered her body crammed under her bed. So that's the timing based upon the reporting from Daily Mail and some of the other information we can put in there.
Yeah, that's another thing too, Daddy Scambay, we had mentioned, is that there's not a camera directly in the room to see what happened, but those cameras are in that hallway, and you can see every single person who came in and out of that room for sure.
And it brings us to the next question in our investigation. What does the timeline reveal? Right? There's going to be lots of evidence. Anytime we're trying to figure out what happened, I know we like to do it, and law enforcement does it as well, puts together these timelines to try to understand who was where, when, who had opportunity. Here to help with our investigation, retired FBI Special Agent Kenneth Gray. Remember, this is an FBI investigation taking place. He's also professor of practice at the University of New Haven, and criminal defense attorney, former district attorney Matthew Mangino is with us. All right, Kenneth, I'll begin with you. As an investigator, what does this timeline reveal to you? What questions does it lead to next?
Yeah, the timeline here, very interesting in that we have Anna going into her cabin and then not being seen again that evening. It also shows us that
Yeah, maybe it's because Anna's 18 and I've never dealt with an 18-year-old, but if I didn't see my daughter after dinner, I would go and check on her just out of habit. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. Anybody in here who has it, I know Daniel's crew does. Having an older child, do you give them a bit more freedom? Or if you did it, I mean, maybe knowing what you know now, you'd feel compelled to go check on them. But say you didn't know that this person, like say you went on a cruise with your 18-year-old son or daughter, and they said they weren't feeling well, so they went and laid down. Would you feel compelled to go and check on them, or would you just wait to see them the next day, you know? But I know that if I wasn't feeling good, my mom probably would have came and checked on me. My dad probably wouldn't. But my mom would have probably came and just been like, hey, you okay? Like, what's wrong? No matter how old I am. I mean, she'd still do that now if I was like, I don't feel good, I'm going to go lay down, you know? But maybe this family's just a little different. Check out the A.B. Bradley case. It's pretty crazy from the Korean. Maybe we'll look at more, but we're gonna finish focusing on this one for now. But I mean, I'm just curious what some of you guys with older kids in the audience or the chat would do in a situation like this.
14-year-old went to the cabin with the 16-year-old and left. So we've got the stepbrother, 16-year-old, in the cabin with the victim here, Anna.
Good point, Rogera. It depends if it's out of character for them. Maybe Anna always was like, I don't feel good, right? And maybe she was like going through something that time of the month. I still check on mine. Yes, check on them. Do they have cell phones? Yeah, I think they all had cell phones. So, all right. I was just curious because, you know, my daughter is only 11, so obviously I'd go check on her because she's a kid. But false sense of security on cruise ships. People think, I'll see them later. Where are they going to go? Good point. Good point. Although a lot of people go overboard, from what I understand.
And then that it reduces the number of suspects down to one in this case. The ship is covered with cameras. And because of the cameras, it should help define a pool of suspects.
I feel the same.
We don't know the results of that right now from the investigation, but that is certainly something that I'm sure the FBI is looking at.
They say mysterious death on cruise ship, but let's be honest. There's nothing mysterious about this. I'm pretty sure everybody knows what happened.
The crime scene itself is limited potentially to just the cabin. They were all in there, so fingerprints is not going to help us out in this case. So instead it would have to...
Look at this. Look at this right here. You deserve to be happy, but if it ain't with me, then never mind. That seems like that's directed at her ex, doesn't it? Just saying.
To be other forensic evidence to help establish what happened to Anna.
Matthew Mangino, as a former prosecutor looking at all of this, it seems to me the crucial witness, if in fact the 16-year-old is the suspect, the crucial witness in all this may be the 14-year-old.
All right, I was just curious, Daniel's crew. Yeah, the 14-year-old, I feel like the 14-year-old would probably know more about what happened and the dynamic between Anna and the 16-year-old than anybody would.
Well, right, Benny, and I read some news reports. Again, this is not in investigative information, and I believe it came, again, from the boyfriend who we heard earlier, that the 14-year-old says that he heard an argument outside of the cabin between the victim and the 16-year-old stepbrother. So I think that it was even characterized as hearing some things being thrown around.
If that's true, which this is the first time I'm hearing that, but if that's true, that sounds like a couple fighting, doesn't it? That sounds like, when you get an argument with someone who you've, are in a romantic relationship with. Obviously, she did this to herself, shoved herself under the, yeah, it's pretty clear. She shoved herself under there and then just gave herself one of these. Try to take herself out.
That adds,
that would really be a wild one.
The interest in the 16-year-old, certainly. And, there are cameras, there are ways of going and see who entered the room and who left the room with the electronic key fobs that are used on these cabins. So there's going to be a wealth of information with all the tapes and everything to determine, when she went into the room, who went into the room, who left the room. And I think that's going to be well documented. The other thing here that surprises me a bit is that, she's an 18-year-old girl.
Yeah, the cause of death was strangulation. So that's why it's pretty obvious to most of us that you know, the brother, the 16-year-old son probably did it.
She doesn't feel well. She goes back to her cabin. No one checks on her. No one goes in to see, hey, you feeling better? You know, what's going on? No, they don't realize she's missing until breakfast the following morning. And so I'd be interested in knowing, you know, what was going on in the meantime.
That, you know, I never thought of it that way. That's true. If your child leaves because she's feeling ill, do you check before you go to
Dude, we are so ahead of them. I should be on court TV, guys. We are already ahead of them.
bed? Hey, are you okay? Do you check in the morning? I guess they did sort of check in the morning because they're at breakfast, but it took some time to figure out what was going on. But no text messages like, hey, how you feeling? Like, you can't go 10 minutes in my house without someone texting one another when we're in the same house. Kenny, let me ask you this. If, in fact, there is some sort of confrontation that is taking a physical confrontation like was potentially described here by the 14-year-old, what sort of evidence are you looking for inside that room?
So again, autopsy, which we are not privy to, may give us other.
It doesn't seem like he drugged her first, Daniel's crew, because they were fighting. If that 14-year-old hearing them argue, and then that's why he went to go take pictures. Like, maybe he didn't leave to go take pictures because he just wanted to go take pictures. Maybe he went to go take pictures of the cruise ship because he was sick of hearing them two fight. You know what I mean? But if you look at the pictures of the 16-year-old, they blur out his face, but he looks like he's like kind of like husky. You know, like he could probably overpower. At 16, you're getting mature. And you're probably a 16-year-old male most of the time is stronger than an 18-year-old female, you know? And I don't imagine Anna's got any kind of defense training in her repertoire. Not like VR Girl, who I've seen kick a bunch of men's ass dressed as Batgirl. So, you know, sometimes it's different strokes for different folks. But she randomly got sick first. Yeah, I guess so. I mean, you know, and again, is it an MO for Anna to leave dinner early to go be sick, or was maybe they planning a rendezvous that Anna called off or something? I don't know. I don't personally know. Maybe were they sneaking drinks? Was maybe Anna sneaking drinks and didn't feel well?
Indicators about what to look for in this case. But I'm sure that in the process of doing a crime scene investigation, if there was blood inside the cabin, that would have been collected. Saliva, if it was inside the cabin, that would have been collected. Because they all three were inside this was their cabin. There's going to be fingerprints everywhere that belonging to the three. So fingerprints themselves will not be very helpful. But you know, it may have been a strangulation with his hands, or it may have been with something else that he used to strangle her with. So perhaps that item would be inside the cabin also. I think we need to see the result of the crime.
Yeah, the autopsy. I mean, they already gave the body back to the parents for the celebration of life. So her body's already like in the ground. So they've already completed the drug test. I mean, they've already did the autopsy. Now, maybe we're waiting for chemical stuff to come back, like that type of part of the autopsy where you got to send it off and then get it analyzed and then send back. Maybe that will find some new things. But the forensic evidence hasn't really, other than pointing out that she was strangled, there's not a whole lot of information that's come out yet. I have a feeling that we find out she had gotten drugged first, just a thought. I mean, maybe, but I don't know where that 16-year-old would have gotten drugs from, you know? So unless somebody else on the cruise ship drugged her, and then all of a sudden, like, the 16-year-old's innocent, which I don't think would be real because she got strangled. So I think that most people realize it's him. He's the only suspect right now.
Crime scene investigation to be able to see the value and what it proves, what they found.
And if Anna turned her back to him, never thought in a million years that guy would hurt her, and then he just went up behind her and just, you know, started cramming on her neck, it's possible that she never saw coming and they couldn't even fight it off. It's kind of weird how this is not really an open and short case if they was cameras on the cruise ship. Yeah, I know, and they haven't arrested the 16-year-old yet, so I don't know. You would think that they would have arrested him by now if he was if it was so open and shut.
Big thanks, Kenneth Gray, Matthew Mangino. We'll see you again really soon. Still to come, what does Anna's cause of death reveal?
Well, that's why we do this, right? Daniel's crew is because we like to overthink stuff. So
here's the story.
So I think right now what's going on is most people know who killed her, right? But I think what we're trying to figure out right now is why. That's really the question that everybody wants to know. Why did he kill her? I think most of us can pretty much figure out that the 16-year-old killed her, but why did he kill her? That's what everybody's dying to know.
Bright, bubbly, and full of dreams. That's how Anna Kepner's family remembers her. Before she graduated high school, she carved out a life of ambition, cheerleading, community service.
The 14-year-old killed her and the 16-year-old's helping cover it up. That would be a twist, considering the 14-year-old wasn't in the room. How did you do it?
And plans to join the military. But aboard a 6-day Caribbean cruise with her blended family.
Maybe. Oh, this would really be some fucked up stuff, right? What if the 16-year-old walked in on her and the 14-year-old? No, I can't put that. That's mean. I can't put that out there. This is a poor girl that was tragically killed. But I'm just pointing out like this more crazy aspects to this video.
Family, something went terribly wrong. FBI agents boarded the Carnival Horizon when it docked in Miami, and her body was found hidden under her cabin bed. Court filings now reveal a shocking development. A minor family member, her 16-year-old stepbrother, is being investigated.
So this is the 16-year-old stepbrother here. His face is obviously blurred out, but look, he's built. He was a soccer player, from what I understand. So he's very athletic. That's why I don't think that he had to drug her. But I mean, he's got some big ass shoulders on him. You know, I could definitely see him being able to overpower her. She's a slender girl, doesn't have she's in great shape, but most of us were at 18 too. But this kid, I mean, he's husky, you know, he's built and look at his dad. His dad's a big guy. I could definitely see him 100% being able to overpower her.
Investigated by the FBI. The investigation is shrouded in secrecy, yet the whispers are growing louder. Was this a tragic accident or something far more sinister?
Yeah, but she was going to join the Navy, and I don't think that she probably would be like, my daughter's mom was in the Navy, and she couldn't fight to save her life.
Inside a family's own walls. And the whispers are getting louder. And some of the reporting is now digging into this using sources inside the investigation, giving us more and more information. And this is some of the latest coming from ABC News, who says, Anna Kepner, a teenager who was found dead on a Carnival Horizon cruise ship this month, died by asphyxiation resulting from a bar hold, an arm across the neck, a source briefed on the investigation told ABC News.
So that's basically, like I said, he would get behind her and then, just hold her neck on his arm like this as hard as he could, so that it would cut off oxygen to her and she wouldn't be able to swallow or do anything. Really sad way to go. Really sad way to go. She was probably terrified, and that's what breaks my heart.
Investigators also found 2 bruises on the side of her neck, the source said.
That's why I think it was a rear naked choke. That's why I think he put her into a rear naked choke. Probably something more along the lines of like this, and was squeezing real tight. And that's why you would see the ligature marks here on the sides of her neck and not directly across the front. So the sides of her neck here. Basically what you're doing is you're cutting off circulation to the brain. MMA fighters do it all the time, rear naked chokes. Here, let me see if I could find you an example of a rear naked choke here. MMA naked choke. So yeah, this is kind of what I'm envisioning. You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm envisioning. What he did to her to get her to. He could have accidentally killed her. Maybe he was just trying to choke her out and then held it way too long and she never, never woke up. But because UFC fighters choke each other out all the time, he would have had to hold it longer so that the blood stopped pumping and then she'd stop breathing too. Like if you held that long enough, you could kill someone easily. That's why the fighters are trained to tap. The minute everything starts going black, they're trained to tap. That means they're going out, and they can't get out of it. So I agree, EG, because the bruising on the sides of her neck is not on the front. Yeah, that's why I think you see exactly where Uriah Favor's arms are. They're right bicep on one side, this on the other side. He's locked in here so that he could hold it super tight, and it's pretty much lights out. At this point.
According to the source, the preliminary information indicates there were no signs of sexual assault, and there did not appear to be drugs or alcohol in Kepner's system.
There you go. Okay, so that eliminates Daniel's crew's idea. There was no drugs, no alcohol in her system whatsoever. Carnival Cruise Line, you have to be over 21 to drink, period. No 18-year-olds are allowed to drink on that. Yeah, sleeper hold is another word for it too, Maya. You're right. So that eradicates any idea of drugs being in her system, any idea of alcohol being in her system.
Autopsy and toxicology reports that could confirm those details have not been completed. Okay, this brings us to the next question in our investigation, an important one. What does Anna's cause of death reveal? If, in fact, this is the cause of death, asphyxiation, an armbar across the neck. What does that tell us? Here to help answer that question is author and clinical.
That guy doesn't know what an armbar is because he went like this. You could never choke someone. You could never choke someone out just with one arm. I mean, I guess you could, but.
Forensic neuropsychologist Dr. Judy Ho and forensic death investigator Joseph.
I know he plays soccer. I'll show the interview that they did with the grandparents next. But they have a different story than the boyfriend did.
Scott Morgan, he's also the host of the very popular podcast Body Bags with Joseph Scott Morgan. All right, Joseph Scott Morgan, let me start with you on this. Give us your interpretation, the picture it paints. What is this revealing to you tonight?
Thanks for having me, Ben. Okay, so when we're talking about an arm bar, this is something, by the way, that's prohibited from police cannot utilize this any longer. This is something that used to be used years and years ago.
George Floyd got that stopped. When George Floyd was killed, he was killed with an arm bar.
So when you think about this section of your arm being utilized or weaponized at that point in time, there's two ways it can be applied. Either from the rear, okay, so you have someone that attacks from the rear, and the actual forearm is used to compress all of the organs of the neck, all these structures in here. We're talking about the trachea, the strap muscles.
Which we already eliminated because the bruises were on the sides of her neck, not the front. And I think that's what he's about to go into here.
Run through here. And then it can be applied also if you're face-to-face with the subject, where you take your arm and force it down across.
Okay, this guy clearly doesn't know what an arm bar is. Well, first off, he said an arm bar, which is a completely different move, okay? An arm bar, okay, I'll show you guys what an arm bar is. This guy does not know what MMA is. Where do they get these people for Court TV? This is infuriating me. All right, watch. That he said arm bar. Maybe he misspoke, but watch. This is what an arm bar looks like. That's an arm bar. If he gave Anna an arm bar, she would still be here just with a broken arm. So that's an arm bar. Not something I'd imagine Anna had to deal with. So I don't know what the hell this guy's talking about, but he's not right. He clearly doesn't watch anything about MMA. I almost want to play this back a little bit just so you guys could hear what he says. Because none of this is right, all right? Just so you know. Whatever this guy's saying right here, incorrect. And I wonder if people in the comments are talking about this. Why is Dr. Safari trying to make excuses for his stepbrother? Just for Anna? Absolutely. Nobody bring up the armbar thing in here? If nobody says anything about the armbar, I'm going to have to go in here and correct him. Because he's wrong. He's wrong as hell.
Thanks for having me, Ben. Okay, so when we're talking about an arm bar,
my God, my God, my God, my God, it's not. It's a rear naked choke. It's not an arm bar. These experts, yeah, they don't know. Anybody who's ever watched MMA at all knows this stuff. This guy clearly doesn't know what the hell he's talking about. And he didn't even demonstrate it right. He didn't even demonstrate. Why? They literally just said that she has bruises on the side of her neck. Why is he talking about cutting off the trachea? She wouldn't have bruises on the side of her neck then. She would have bruises on the front of her neck. Maybe a broken arm, but definitely not dead. Yeah, she would definitely have a broken arm, but she wouldn't be dead. I don't know why this guy's even here. Maybe he was nervous being on the show or something, but not an arm bar.
this is something, by the way, that's prohibited from police cannot.
I don't think police are allowed to put people in arm bars unless they're going to break someone's, arm while they're arresting them.
Utilize this any longer. This is something that used to be used years and years ago.
Yeah, headlock.
So when you think about,
well, no, when I think of a headlock, I think of someone having your head like this. It's called a rear naked choke, is what it's called, a rear naked choke. Sorry, Blue Jay, you just missed this guy making a fool of himself by misdiagnosing everything that we've heard so far.
this section of your arm being utilized or weaponized at that point in time, there's two ways it can be applied. Either from the rear, okay, so you have someone that attacks from the rear, and the actual forearm is used to compress all of the organs of the neck, all these structures in here. We're talking about the trachea, the strap muscles that run through here, and then it can be...
Okay, so he's not entirely wrong, okay, but he just was wrong in the way he demonstrated it.
Applied also if you're face-to-face with the subject, where you take your arm and force it down across the anterior aspect of the neck. Either way, this is a very violent, intimate type of event. It's not.
I do not think that he choked her out face-to-face. I think he choked her out rear naked choke style. He probably watches MMA, if I had to guess, and that's how he knew how to do it in the first place.
Not surprising, to me at least, that there were, in fact, bruises that were adjacent to her as well.
Dr. Judy Ho, this is a...
Thanks, Clifford, for coming back, brother. Appreciate it.
These are siblings, stepbrother, stepsister. They didn't grow up together. Anna's father had 2 prior marriages. This is the 3rd marriage. About a year or so, maybe, the parents have...
Probably not tonight, Clifford, but you could definitely recommend one for a future stream, because we're gonna wrap it up after this one, because I can't stream too long. I had eye surgery, so I can't be looking at the screens for too long.
Have been together. This family's been blended. What does this cause of death, if true, tell you about what's happening between these step siblings?
Thank you.
Well, there's been...
Next time you come in here, you want to request it, you could drop the link in the chat and we'll watch it then.
Some reports, Vinny, that this stepbrother was obsessed with her in unhealthy ways. And
Probably,
his ex had talked about the fact that she was afraid to tell her family or other people about what her stepbrother was actually doing and how much he was scaring her or creeping her out, because he always carried a knife on him, allegedly. And that even when he tried to warn the family, this is the ex of Anna, that the family just really didn't believe him. And obviously, we always hope for the best when there's a blended family situation. That's very common to have a blended family nowadays. It's not the first family that's ever gone through this, nor will it be the last. However, that's always a challenging time for the most part, because this is a blended family coming together. People who've never lived together. People might have feelings about their biological parents not being together. I feel like in general, parents should be on high alert for any warning signs that maybe people aren't getting along or that it could potentially get more serious. And if these allegations are true, that the stepbrother was obsessed with her, that she was essentially turning him down, hey, we're not going to do that. I'm not interested in you. I don't want to date you. You can see why it could potentially lead to something like this, especially in the heat of the moment.
Something else, Joseph Scott Morgan, I want to show you from the Daily Mail. 2 sources who spoke with the Daily Mail under condition of anonymity say the pretty youngster, that's Anna, was found...
Okay, what the hell is a blended family? It's when a husband comes in with kids of his home and a wife comes... It's the Brady Bunch, okay? A blended family is basically the Brady Bunch, is the best way to describe it. Here's a story of a man named Brady who was bringing up 3 very lovely boys. All of them had hair of brown like their father, except the one. Okay. And then he met this lady. Oh, no. I think it starts with the mom. And then he met this guy named Brady who had 3 very lovely boys. All of them had something, and then that's what made the Brady Bunch. That's a blended family.
Wrapped in a blanket, covered over with life jackets, and stuffed under a bed. What are your thoughts about that part of the story?
Call me Alice.
These are items of convenience that are within reach to facilitate these coverings. And interestingly enough, the Horizon, unlike other ships in the fleet of Carnival, the Horizon actually has life vest inside of the room. Other vessels that they have stations outside. So if you have an event at sea and they say you have to go to this specific area to be provided a life vest, that's not the case with the Horizon. There are actually life vests in the cabin itself that you have access to. Again, an item of convenience. And one more thing, Vin, we talked about
he might have been trying to, because a maid found the body. A maid found her under the bed. It's not like the dad did. A maid did. So I wonder if he was trying to stash her away till later, so he could get back to the room and then try to maybe like throw her overboard or something. That's what my guess is, because I don't know where he thought that would be, a good. I doesn't think he was planning on keeping her there. I think he was planning on getting her overboard. But at the same time, he couldn't just walk out with her because that would be on camera.
the injuries on the neck. I think that it's very important. Anna her remains could offer up some other answers as well, because in these kind of very close quarter, intimate events like this, we want to look at her fingernails. We want to be able to see if there's any debris beneath these nails that we could do nail scrapings on. We've heard about this for years and years, right? There could be other biological elements in here, particularly skin, blood, these sorts of things. And also we would do nail trimmings, and these will be examined very, very carefully. I know that there's no sign, according to them, at least at this point, of some kind of sexual event. However, she's fighting for her life. Would she have had an awareness of this? I'm also going to be very, very interested in her toxicology, Vin. I want to know if she had anything on board, whether it's alcohol or any other kind of substance, because I want to know if she's been plied with anything.
That's a great point, because she did leave the dinner saying I wasn't feeling well, and we're wondering why she wasn't feeling well.
Her stomach was upset. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Dr. Judy Ho, the other part.
Okay, so I'm confused. They did say there was no alcohol or drugs in her system, but that hasn't been... But the toxicology report hasn't come back yet? I'm so confused at what they were saying earlier then.
For the story, there's a third child involved here, a 14-year-old, which is her brother, and he may be a crucial witness in all of this. What are your thoughts about how he can handle this situation the best?
I'm going to skip this because I don't really care about her. So this is them talking. I want to see if they get to the grandparents here. They love showing that picture of her in the bikini. Okay, this part looks interesting. I want to see the room here.
In bed. Let's take a look at what we can see here.
Welcome.
I'm going to go back just a little bit here so I can see what they're setting up here.
One cruise stateroom, so there's a lot of logistics here that did not make sense.
Yeah, Margaret, I want to show you this. The I Like Cruise Ships YouTube channel did a video tour of one of the 3 passenger cabins aboard the Carnival Horizon. This particular room on the ship had a set of bunk beds as well as a single twin bed. Let's take a look at what we can see here.
Welcome to the Carnival Horizon. We're going to have a look at one of the Family Harbor cabins. This is 2464. Now, this is kind of obviously at the back of deck 2, which is the Family Harbor area. And you'll
This looks exactly like a room they would have stayed in, right? The boys probably would have got the bunk bed. She probably would have got the main bed.
see all the cabins sort of running not too far from the back of the ship. So this is kind of cool because one of the actual Pullman beds is already in place. I'm just going to get the ladder nice and straight there. So you can actually see that top bunk already prepared. So this is actually set up as a 3-person.
So they would have had to find her under here with... This is why I wanted to see this part. So they shoved her body. He shoved her body under one of these beds, not these two. But this is, you can get an idea of if there's 3 of them staying in the room, they were probably staying in this particular setup here. So he would have shoved her under here, and then used life preservers to try to like hide her under there.
Room.
All right, Margaret. I mean, tight quarters. Obviously, they're on a ship. You know, what do you think's going on here? Were they just oblivious to the potential of a 16-year-old boy and an 18-year-old girl, and what possibly could potentially happen here?
Yeah, Vinny, I'm the mom of 3 kids, okay? And I've also been on cruise ships like that. I think as a mother, the red flag, there should have been red.
Yeah, I think we could all agree that they could have been red flagged. I just want to see if they go there. Okay, let's go to the grandparents interview now, which is right here. So I want to hear what they have to say.
An ABC News exclusive with the grandparents of the Florida teenager who was found dead on a Carnival cruise ship, as the girl's stepbrother could be facing charges. Victor Kendo's in Miami. Good morning, Victor.
Good morning, George. This is a very tight-knit family. We met Anna Kepner's grandparents just after they learned the cause of death, and they shared some very painful details about what happened on that cruise ship.
This morning, for the first time, the grandparents of 18-year-old Anna Kepner, who died on a Carnival Horizon cruise ship earlier this month.
Yeah, you would think that you could. Well, the brother said they heard them fighting outside the door, so.
Breaking their silence.
I just screamed. I couldn't stop screaming.
Barbara and Jeffrey Kepner were on board the 7-day cruise in the Caribbean with their son, his wife.
Okay, this looks like the 16-year-old right here. Or is this the 14-year-old? And this the 16-year-old. This must be the 16-year-old. And this must be the 14-year-old? But, like, he's bigger. Like, he looks bigger than her. You know what I mean? He looks a lot bigger than her. You turn it up, Rogier. How about that? You turn it up. Yeah, I'll turn it up a little bit. But, like, if this is the 16-year-old, he's way bigger than her. And if this is the 14-year-old, you know what I mean? Like, these guys are... Now, she's hunching a little bit, but either one of these guys could probably overpower her, you know?
And their grandchildren, enjoying time as a family. Anna staying with her brother and stepbrother in a stateroom, seen here.
Do you remember the last time that you saw Anna? We had dinner. Anna wasn't feeling well. She just said, Mima, I think I'm going to go back to my room for a little bit. And she must have felt better because she got dressed up and she came down. We were playing in the casino. She didn't win anything. And she said, Mima, I love you guys. I'll see you later. And we never saw her again after that.
Okay, so that's important. All right. So what you've been hearing about how she's been sick and then she goes away, right? She's sick, she goes back to her room, and then they never hear from her again. That's not true. You just heard it from the grandparents right there. They said that she got sick, went through her room, must have felt better, so she got all dressed up, came down to casino where they were playing slots or whatever, didn't win anything, and then said, I'll see you guys later. So that would explain why they didn't check on her. So that I would turn it up, but then you would be screaming in my ears. Stop. Give it a rest. Give it a rest. But that's... So we're hearing conflicting things all the time. That's straight from the grandparents, though. They were there. I trust them. So make sure you guys are paying attention to this. Oh.
The next morning, an announcement over the ship's broadcast system changed everything.
They called for a medical alert team to go to a stateroom. And when they said the number, I recognized the number immediately. The room steward that was going in to clean the room is the one that found her.
So the room steward who went to go clean the room is the one that found her, not anybody else from the party. That's why I don't think that kid was expecting her. I think he was going to try to pick her up as like all that stuff and make it look like he's carrying out garbage. And then he was going to I think he was going to plan on throwing her overboard.
She was found concealed under the bed. I was told that she pulled back the mattress and found Anna.
What did the FBI say was the official cause of death?
The FBI contacted my son and family and told us the cause of death was asphyxiation.
Anna's grandmother said one possibility they're considering, whether it was caused by a so-called bar hold, an arm across the neck.
You take the elbow like this. They said when they took her body to the medic.
Why? Either nobody knows anything about MMA. Okay. Let's go see what a bar hold looks like. Not an arm bar. Again, it's just arm bars, dude. I've never heard of a thing called a bar hold. Yeah, I only see Rear naked choke. Maybe they just don't know. Maybe they just don't know what it's called. And maybe it's got different names for police jargon or something.
Medical examiner's office, it was in perfect condition.
Kepner telling ABC News they were told their granddaughter's body showed no signs of sexual assault or drugs or alcohol in her system. In an unrelated custody dispute.
So there again, maybe the court TV thing was out of like order or something, but they got so much different things wrong in that video that we just watched, that we just heard directly from the grandparents that they didn't find any alcohol, they didn't find any drugs in her system. And I knew that because they said that in the thing, and then they keep saying, I want to know if there was drugs or alcohol. And it's like, are you guys watching it? How do I know this? You guys don't, and this is your job full time. Honestly, EJ, I don't think a single person in these videos have any clue what they're talking about regarding arm bars. Yeah, I think you're right. Zero.
Anna's stepmother calling Anna's stepbrother, who is a minor, a suspect in Anna's death.
Do you think he had anything to do with Anna's death?
I mean, he was in a room with her. He was the only one seen coming and going. So I can't accuse him because I don't know what happened in that room. But the summation would be that he did something.
Pretty obvious right there. If the grandparents are like, yeah, we think it was him. That's as close as you're gonna get to. Yeah, it was him.
And has he said anything to you about what happened?
I heard him, in his own words, say he does not remember what happened.
There you go. He does not remember what happened, and that's convenient for him. That's very convenient for him.
Anna's grandmother says she sat in on a portion of the stepbrother's interview with the FBI.
He was an emotional mess. He couldn't even speak. He couldn't believe what had happened.
Anna's grandparents say
yeah, I feel like most of us who killed someone would. Yeah, oh, you talking about her makeup? I don't know. Maybe she's just, I don't know what to say about her makeup, but she's going through a lot, okay? She's going through a lot right now, E-Shift. Give her a break.
She and her stepbrother were close.
They were just like brother and sister.
What else could you tell me?
Okay, that's important. Okay, this is the part that I wanted to show you guys. So this is where I think it flies in the face of what that dude was saying. The guy that we saw earlier on. I'll slow it down because I've been watching on 1.25. But listen to what she says about them together, okay?
Close.
They were just like brother and sister.
What else could you tell me about him?
That he was a good student.
His grandparents' interview with the FBI.
He was an emotional mess. He couldn't even speak. He couldn't believe what had happened.
And his grandparents say she and her stepbrother were close.
They were just like brother and sister.
What else could you tell me about him?
See, that goes completely against what the boyfriend was saying. That's why I don't believe him. She could have been saying that to him because, she said they were really close. Now, maybe grandma just doesn't know what the hell's going on in the home, but I think that she would probably understand what was going on more than what the boyfriend, who's never there, would. It hasn't been around for 6 months, Maybe the relationship between them drastically changed from when he knew her to what she is now. That's why I say you can't listen to the boyfriend. Unfortunately, I think, first off, zero emotion and lack of delivery.
That he was a good student.
I don't think that matters.
Played soccer. He played soccer. Very quiet young man. He had demons, I think, in his past, and he was trying to deal with those.
Anna's stepbrother has not been arrested or charged with the crime. Attorneys for both the stepbrothers' parents did not respond to ABC's request for comment. The FBI and medical examiner's office also declined to comment. Anna's family focused now on honoring their granddaughter, a high school senior and straight-A student who planned to join the military.
She had purpose. She wanted to do things. And this little tiny 110-pound girl, she was mighty, very mighty.
We were looking forward to seeing her grow. What do you hope for now in this moment for your family?
I hope that we can heal. Whatever happened.
Confiding in her ex what's really going on, or the ex. But again, they broke up 6 months before this even took place. This cruise took place. So again, I don't know how much testimony he could have. Honestly, I wonder how none of the family picked up on it, or if they did, why didn't they do anything? Because again, if I feel like if it was going on, anybody with 2 brain cells would realize that that wasn't a good situation. And I feel like Anna herself would have said, I'm not sleeping in a room with that guy. He's going to hurt me, you know? So that's why I think there's so much more to this story right now. I think there's so much more. Nobody really has given us a clear-cut answer. Right now, though, I will be honest, I think I trust these 2 more than anybody else, considering they were on the cruise ship when it happened. Whereas everybody else we heard, nothing. And maybe she was dating that guy when they first blended the family, and then she thought he was creepy at first, but then she kind of warmed up to him, you know? There's so many different possibilities that could have happened.
In that room, the only person responsible is the person that was in the room with Anna.
What does justice look like for your family?
Whatever the law says, I'm not going to advocate for anything more or anything less. And that will be for the courts to decide.
Well, unfortunately, you're right, Ruggiera. If they had any real evidence, he would be arrested. So I think right now they need to get, they're waiting to arrest him until they have something concrete they can go to court with. Basically, they present evidence to the DA, and then he says, I need more. I can't just, right now it is circumstantial. They can time him there. They can put him there in the room with her. Or can they not? I don't know. The EG thinks the grandparents did it. That would be a real wild turn of events, huh? If the grandparents killed him, and we had a Chris Watts situation on our hands where they're doing interviews when they were the ones who killed him. But no, I do think the grandparents are probably the most reliable source right now, considering, one, they've showed that that Anna came down after she went up saying she didn't feel well, where every other news station right now is saying that she went up and then was not seen again until the next morning. That's clearly not the case. She said she didn't feel well at dinner. She went up to the cruise ship, got dressed up, came back down that night, and then went up, and I guess that's when she was killed. So, who I guess take your pick who you listening to here. For me, I'm personally choosing to listen to the grandparents who were actually there and knew Anna and were the last ones to see her alive, basically, other than the guy who killed her. So, anyway, interesting. I'm gonna be following this story. I'm really invested in this story. I think it's absolutely bonkers and crazy, especially with the amount of just total misinformation that's coming out about this story. I don't think I've ever seen more misinformation come out about anything ever. Any story ever. Usually you got to be pretty tight-lipped on this stuff, but we've already heard so many conflicting reports about what happened on that cruise ship and who was involved and the relationship with each other. So we will definitely do a follow-up when we get more information about this. But with that said, guys, thank you guys so much for the donations tonight. You guys are amazing. I don't know what else to say other than I need to go to bed because my eyes be hurting, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. All right, so be good, take care of one another, learn the difference between an arm bar and a rear naked choke, please, for the love of God and all that is holy. And I'll see you guys next time. Peace. Great point, Daniel's crew.